Hi everyone, Mature Simmer here. So I am back in Hastings, North Dakota. For those who may have watched the original couple episodes I had, we're in the same location, similar type setup, but a new map was released around New Year's Day and basically required a new save game, which would have required me to start completely over. And at that time, given that there wasn't a lot of automation available to help assist things move, I decided that I was not going to continue at that point. So I'm back here on the New Year's Eve version of the map, which is, I think, basically technically 1.1. And, a few differences, but for the most part, we've still got the pickup. We don't have the garage with some of the tractors, and that's partially because we've just gone a lot bigger. Because the thing that made me say, all right, we're going to try this again, is we've got Courseplay that allows multi-tool. So we've got a couple giant sheds, and right now I'm basically planning on using 3 pieces of equipment to do any field work I have. So you're going to see a lot of 3s as we kind of tour the couple sheds we've got. So 3 trucks with trailers, obviously, 3 harvesters, nicely numbered so that we can keep track of who they are in the field if we want to for some reason. Right now I've got the headers parked outside, not really a reason not to. So they're around the shed here. I've got the grain silo complex that we're used to. And I've gone ahead, and purchased the same group of fields basically north of the river here. So most things are the same, other than we're starting again. So 3 quad tracks, 3 planters, and then for the unique crops right now, I've just got the 1 potato harvester, the 1 beet harvester, in case we need those. It didn't turn out this time, because last time we had, I think, potatoes and beets in the field. This time I think we do have some potatoes, but I didn't see any beets, so... But either way. And then we've got 3 cotton harvesters parked out here, which may end up in the shed at some point. So these sheds are a mod. Again, I think that had come over from FS19. You can see up there, it's TMF. And so they were used on another map that I was doing a map tour of. And when I saw them, I'm like, these would be perfect for Hastings because they're larger than the ones we had in-game. And more importantly, the doors are much bigger, and I don't have to play the games I was trying to get things in and out of the sheds. So it just definitely feels easier. Oh yeah, and I've got my electric forklift over here. And then the charging station's behind it. That's what you can see glowing. And then our pressure washer is here. So right now that's our setup, and then obviously our fill station for seeds and other things. So that gets you up to speed on equipment. Now on the map itself, there's more, there's some productions put in place now, cereal factory, bakery. There are a few gas stations, which if you recall on the first iteration of these was one of my concerns, is that you had to do some things to make it playable. But we're up here. You can kind of see the numbers, but just to make it clearer, we've got this batch of fields that we own, so the 7 fields that are in essence north of the river that, again, are split from the ones that are in the corner. So we've got, at this point, a few fields that need harvesting, 43 and 87, which I think was again similar. Now the difference is these are both canola fields. So I think last time they were two different fields, but they're all canola at this point in time. So we're going to go ahead and start getting our equipment moved on over, as we likely still have a long day ahead of us. But welcome back to Hastings. And I'm in the wrong shed. Still trying to get used to my setup here. You know, I think I've got things set up in a way that I can go around to the back side of the shed. Again, if you recall and you followed the other series, I was pretty tight in being able to make that turn the way I had set up the trees and so forth. I just hadn't anticipated the rolling and so forth that I need to do. I'm going to go ahead and get both of these open so that when we come back, we're all set. And here we go. Oh boy. Best laid plans, right? I'm like, I got this thing nicely parked. I really probably should have taken one of the other ones out, but it worked. It wasn't pretty, but we got it done. But it did remind me, I'm likely going to add in the enhanced vehicle mod at some point so that I have some differential options and so forth. Just because, you know, that'll make things a little cleaner. So, and yes, we're going to have to recreate the auto drive networks. As you can see, there's nothing there. I'll do that at some point. Maybe once I get the harvesters running, because once they're going... Oh, why am I don't need to head over to that other field. I'm heading over to... Yeah, we'll do that at this point, and then we'll end up on 43. Let's do that. We'll be a little different. If for no other reason than this field is a little bit probably easier from a shape standpoint, and while I've done I've done multiple pieces of equipment on other maps, I have not tried it on this map. So we could come down and crash and burn because suddenly something isn't working. But I'm going to be optimistic that they won't have done that to us. So we'll fold this up so that we can use it. And then unfold the harvester. And then we'll get ourselves kind of positioned where we're near where we need to be. Alright. And then we kind of rinse and repeat with the other two harvesters. So, you know, large farming is pretty standard from that regard. You know, we're going to have to be getting ourselves staged, get ourselves moved over, and that's going to take a little bit of time. You know, here we can probably go ahead and just pull out this way. Again, auto drive turned off right now, as I don't need these on the harvesters right at this moment. And then we'll get ourselves over here. And we'll we'll get our header connected, and we'll continue to do that. So for those asking why I've got a case header with the John Deere, I think I may have had something similar in the other series. John Deere's got nice capacity, and I prefer not to deal with header trailers if I don't need to, and that's my story. So that is why we have that, and I wasn't able to repaint the headers to match the harvester, so that's why we have what we have. So I pulled in here this way, so I'm pretty sure I should be able to back in here this way. One of the things I discovered between this series and the other is the forward and reverse with the keyboard that I do like is available just within the base game. I did not know that until Enhanced Vehicle came out, and the creators said, well, you know, everything is here that we had in FS19 except what they called shuttle shift, because that's part of base game, and it honestly took me a little while to figure out how to get it to work, but now that I did get it working, it's a feature I've kind of grown to enjoy in my play and farming simulator, and so that's kind of how I operate things, because it just makes it easier than trying to press really hard on the brake pedal to go backwards. Alright, so the plan, we've got 1, 2, 3, as you can see, and you know, the plan is this is how we're going to go ahead and get them moving down the field shortly. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead. My intent is to kind of capture me setting up Courseplay to make this work, but as with any intent, sometimes the best laid plans don't work. So, you know, we'll see how it goes. So basically, by default, the delete key brings up the interface, as you can see down below, which is just kind of the base interface, and then center mouse wheel, you know, moves from the cursor to allow you to look around. But to actually set up the Courseplay routes, you've got to go in here and use these Courseplay features. So first thing we want to do is just kind of get some base things set up. For now, I'm going to show all waypoints. I leave everything else there set. I raise tools late and I lower tools early. That way I'm not leaving crops on the field. Just taking a look here, making sure. Alright, I don't want straw swaths right now, and then I'm going to set this to be the max I can at 400 feet. I've just found that works a little bit better. Speed up both the turn and the reverse. We talked about before, the way we already spend quite a bit, so right now I'm not going to have it use wages, and then we'll eventually be trying to save a course, because we do want to use them across multiple pieces of equipment. So we go in here to kind of the AI interface that exists within FS22, and we're going to create a job, and then the CP jobs are the ones that we work with to do the work. So we're going to pick this location as far as the field position, and so you can see it shows us the outline of the field, which is good. That means it's giving it there. And then the target position is kind of already set, not necessarily a reason that we want to do anything else. And the one thing that I forgot to do, so I'm going to back out of this. And, oh, no, I didn't forget to do it. That happens in the job creation. So this is where it does get a little confusing with Courseplay now in 22 versus what it was. So then we go to the generator, and here is where I'm going to tell it I need 3 tools, 1 headland. I'm going to make it a sharp headland so that it collects everything in the corners. We'll go clockwise, and because we have 3 tools, 1 headland is fine, because that's basically going to be, in essence, like 3 headlands. And for the most part, then, I just leave everything else alone. So this is where it can get interesting. So we're going to generate the fieldwork course. Obviously it's large, but it did it pretty quickly. So you can see what it did there. I guess that's actually okay. Normally I'd kind of expect it to, go straight across, but for whatever reason it's doing that, but it actually might work out well. Right, so at this point then we go here, and I'm going to create a folder for field. What field are we on? 87, that's what I thought, but I wanted to be sure. So I'm just going to create a folder, 87, and then we're going to save the course, and we hit activate. And this is where sometimes it acts up. There we go, okay. Harvest. So there we go. So we've got that. So if we go back to the map, we see what we expect to see there. And then when we go back here, now we can make these choices. So I need this to be left 1, because that's his position. And before I do anything, I'm then going to go jump into the next vehicle. And now we're going to use the course here, and we're going to load the course. So you can see it's harvest. We're going to set it to first waypoint, and then we're going to set this to center. And in theory, that's all we should have to do with these. So after that first setup, as you can see, it's relatively straightforward. So we're going to load, activate, harvest, and now we want to be right 1. And because they're all set to be 400 feet apart from each other, there should be enough room for things to work. So I'm going to go ahead and save the game at this point, just because I'd prefer not to have to redo things too much, but at least I've got some things set. So at this point, we need to start the engine. We've got things unfolded, that's always best. And so you can see we've got, you know, things in the field because we have all waypoints showing right now. That we've got them floating ahead. So I'm going to go ahead. Whoops. I'm going to start at first waypoint, not nearest waypoint. And this is where this is still a little finicky. And so what I've found too is because it knows it's tied to other pieces of equipment, it doesn't seem to actually begin until other things are ready. Alright, so I didn't have that one unfolded. It knows to go ahead and unfold. But I'm going to go ahead in this case and unfold. Set this to first waypoint, and then press that, and then hopefully, there we go. And this is where it gets kind of entertaining, because, yeah, they're going to potentially run over each other, which is why normally I give it a little bit more space, but we'll let it do its thing and we'll see what happens. Oh, did I... Trying to figure out, did I set that other one to nearest waypoint, the second one? No, I didn't. I'm just curious why he started so far back and these did not. Because the start point is here. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's just going to overrun some things, but that's okay. And so you can see we're in pretty good shape here as far as they didn't cause any damage to each other, amazingly, because I've had to manually take over control of pieces of equipment when I've started before, because they all had to kind of juke around a bit to get started. We had that field, but as you can see, it's actually doing pretty well in picking things up appropriately, and we've got piles of canola coming in here. So, you know, and in this case, I think because in this implement I'm not showing all... Sorry, I'm just cycling through. This is the one that shows everything. That way, in the other harvesters, you know, I don't necessarily see the path, but since one is, in theory, the lead, it makes more sense to let it do its thing with the track above. And obviously, over time, as I get more confidence in what's happening, you know, I may change that from an immersion standpoint and so forth, and you know, go from there. But you can see we've got 1,412 points on this course in Courseplay, and you know, we're already at 70. So yeah, we missed a little bit there, but the hope is, and this really wasn't a sharp corner, so you know, it should have not mattered whether we had it set to smooth or sharp or however that is, but we'll kind of observe how those run the course back there, because obviously they're going to turn a little bit. And so sometimes it takes a little while for them to separate out the way they should be, because I don't believe we're 400 feet apart. But you can see, you know, it's actually doing a pretty good job of going where we need it to. And then, you know, the piece we need, obviously, to deal with is now getting these bad boys unloaded. So let's go do that by getting our trucks going. And so, rather than do what I did before, where I can't get out appropriately, I'm gonna back up and take the trucks from the back and then go forward. So in this place, I don't need Courseplay for the trucks. I'm going to need auto drive. And so I'm going to make the network that I need. At this point, I'm going to spend a little bit of time doing that, and it's possible the harvesters will finish up and be waiting to unload, but once again, I don't want to rush things and have a situation that I'm not able to have things function as I'd like. So here I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit record, and I'm going to start laying down my auto drive course, which obviously we can't really tell because the truck's too long, but you'll be able to see it later, and you can hear the ticking as it's dropping points down. You can also see the little point there. And now that I think about it, I'm going to actually do it with a right click because I want both directions. And so once again, we're gonna now label this point. So I'm gonna call this Silo North. So you can see that appear. And I'm going to continue doing this. I'm going to have to fix some things up later, perhaps. So there you can see the one-way course, which is why it's green instead of the blue that you just saw. But yeah, I kind of forgot I was not doing one-way routes in most cases. I was doing two-way routes. So sorry, I'm like clicking my middle button. I'm doing other things to get things placed and visualized appropriately. So I'm going to go ahead and place the unload point over here, just because I have some space. So our next issue is we need a field 87 unload. And for those who know auto drive and its connection is we will be placing that onto the harvesters as well. So I'm going to go ahead and then connect this up. So I'm going to stop recording, and I'm going to rotate this, and then this is where it's going to get a little tricky. So I'm going to go there to there, there, back to there. So now I've got a closed network there, but what I don't have is a connection to the silo. And so what I'm going to want to do is do that. I'm going to go ahead and make it a dual, but I don't necessarily need to. And then I'm going to set this to field unload. And I'm going to go ahead and let it do its thing. And there you go. It's going to just turn around and go back. So we're likely going to have to play some games with making that ultimately work. But for now, we've got the base set up. And this is kind of what we were doing in the first version as well. So I am backed out on the camera, it's just I'm in the building, so it can't float high enough away to give us a little bit better perspective. But so far, yeah, I'm pretty pleased with the road layout. Okay, so there you go. Our truck has reached 87 on load. And then at this point, if I again do this, whoops, I don't want silo north, I want 87 on load. It should go ahead and do its thing. Alright, the good news is obviously the vehicles are still harvesting, so we're doing this fast enough that we're not impacting anything too much, which is awesome. And my only concern then will be if somehow these things don't do what I want, but I was looking for a single trailer to get the crops, because if you recall, there was some challenges with the multi-hopper and the unloading and so forth, and I just kind of wanted to get off that crazy train. Alright, so there we go. So 31 seconds to the field, and there we go. We are lined up. So now we need to get back to our harvesters. Now we need to turn on auto drive, and we need to set that. And there we go. Pre-call is fine at 60. There's really not a reason I need to worry about anything else there. We're going to then rinse and repeat on all of these. Not quite sure why it's telling me that there's no driver available in that location. Because again, I don't need to actually run this, I just need to... Oh, I know, because these aren't set as... So I need to change these to unload combine. So there we go, field 7 unload, and then silo north. So now you can see it's, you know, they're moving up, doing their thing. He's heading off. I don't know why, if they're told to avoid the crops, they do what they're doing, but they do. And so in theory, these should all call a truck. I've not done this with multiple vehicles. He seems to be having some difficulty figuring out how he's going to get where he needs to get. And there we go, he's backing up. I guess we'll see what he decides to do. So this is where things sometimes fall apart a bit, in that, you know, things just aren't as easy to automate as one might like. So for whatever reason, that harvester decided to fold its pipe up. Alright, so I think he's coming here, which is fine. And so I don't know if they're going to basically do, like, one truck's going to do one thing and the others won't be called. But the good news is we are unloading. So that's hurdle, the next hurdle taken care of, so that's great. Yeah, this one really didn't need to move over and make this cutout in the field, because obviously we have room, but, you know, the AI does what the AI does in that regard. Let me just make sure. Okay, it's not giving me any red indicators here. It's unloading. And it is then... I am in unload combine. It's not at 87 yet, so it can't go. But now it's planning a path, so now it may do what I was hoping. So it was, again, it's usually user error with some of these things. So what we then should see is it's possible this truck may do... Nope, the third one is moving, so this is great. As long as they're not all being sent to the same harvester. But, you know, he'll go ahead and he'll continue running down the field. Eventually the truck will go do its thing. That one's moving around there. The harvesters are moving a bit because they're not 100% full, and the other harvester ahead of them is moving, so to try to maintain that following distance, it's, you know, trying to move. I don't know why that other truck isn't getting out of the way. I mean, he's technically not in the way, I guess, so maybe we'll be okay. But, yeah, it may need to go until those harvesters get full. Now the question is, have the trucks run into each other? And are they locked up? But I guess we'll wait and see. Okay, no. It looks like he's moving. Yeah, so they have separated. It's getting harder and harder to see because this guy's getting further and further away. Alright. Yeah, and at this point, I think now he has gotten to 400 feet away. And so he is waiting. Oh boy, that's a lot of traffic up there. I'm just hoping. I am somewhat impressed that it's not required me to intervene. I mean, I'm certainly getting a little bit impatient here, but... Alright, so he's like halfway empty. I'm not quite sure why he didn't fully empty. And then I'm assuming number 3 is full. Alright, somebody's starting up. So he's going to circle around. The question becomes again, is he going to have enough room? And he may now be going to number 3. Alright. Best laid plans. He's kind of getting himself free. Not really the best. So again, they're not the greatest at avoiding collisions. But what I'm trying to see is, you know, can I let it do its thing? It doesn't look like I can. Oh, no, it's freeing itself up. So yeah, what I'm trying to see is if I can really kind of avoid the having to intervene, because then that gives me the... Oh boy. Yeah, and the short answer is it doesn't look like I can. Because, yeah, now he's searching for a clear area, but he's so tied up that he can't. Alright, so I'm going to get out of the way. And the hope is, like, once they're it's just definitely getting confused with the way these things are positioned. Alright, so this is the reality sometimes of what needs to happen. Where it just gets kind of ugly. You see, he's just circling around over and over, and he's not actually finishing. And so I'm going to go ahead and manually do this so that we get these guys going again. Because otherwise they're just going to sit here forever, frankly. And he's trying to get where I'm at, the guy behind me now, I think. But because of the way those harvesters are angled, like the one harvester's in its way and it's confused. So... you know, but the nice thing is, for the most part, this should work once we get everything moving, and then once it gets on the field in a little bit straighter capability. Alright, so that's a good sign, because that means some truck is now going there. And hopefully there's a clearer... of course not, he's too close. So, and that again is something that these things tend to do. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and pull up because that's just cleaner to do, and for whatever reason it might be destroying the crop now. Although no, I turned crop destruction off, but... so, let's see. We might let him do his thing. Although, yeah, since he's not full at this point, what they may do is they may go off and... they may go off and do some additional harvesting now until they get full. Which isn't going to be great because they're not quite spread out enough. So between number 1 and number 2, you know, I think now we have 400 feet, but we don't yet have 400 feet between 2 and 3. But you can start to see, you know, when I've got 3 combines, and more importantly, when they're driving themselves, you know, there's less that we need to do. Now here's the next challenge, is now we're going to get to a point where it's going to have to go and get into the field. And this is where, once again, we can have maybe a little less success than we'd like. And this is slowing down once again because now those have to maneuver a bit to make that turn, and he's trying to maintain that 400-foot distance. So eventually he's likely to stop, is what I've seen, which is a little bit different than what we get with the older version of Courseplay. But you can see now Combine 2 is repositioning itself a bit to make the turn. And once he starts going, obviously Combine 3 will do its thing, but then, more importantly, they'll start going here, and then I think it has to go up in the northwest corner to start onto the field. And if there isn't enough distance and so forth for maneuvering, that's where I've seen them get confused, and then the following combines continue to go down the headland, for example. I am surprised that he's at this point not lifting up his header and moving on. But if I pull this up, so we're at 489 of 142. So we're kind of more than 30% done with the waypoints. See, so like the middle one has got his header up, and he's actually moving along faster because of that. I mean, at this point, I think because of the following distance, he's maintaining his position, but certainly, you know, they've kind of caught up with each other. So the trick is setting up the fill point trigger, which by default, as you saw, was 60% on the auto drive on the combine for when it will make a call. So the trucks are starting to disappear. Now they're gone from view just because we're far enough away. So what's going to happen is we're going to get up into this area of the field, and then you'll see, you know, I'll stay in this combine, which is showing all the waypoints. And then you'll see that that diagonal motion is going to be based on up in that corner. And so my concern is until they sort themselves out, there's going to be a lot of activity in that tight space. And this is where, once again, there may require some manual intervention. And then I think I have figured out how to restart things and get them back going again, but there is a little bit of trial and error to make that work. But I think it's going to be one more set here before, yeah, because this one looks like it kind of crosses over this path just because of how the field is shaped. So we've kind of got, yeah, I can see the point now. So we've still got to go up a bit. So certainly, Courseplay used to, when it's then running this headland back up to start the path, it would lift up the implement and it would move along. And so right now, they're not doing that. So obviously this takes some more time to get where it needs to get. So I apologize. I mean, there's not much. Well, I mean, I could take over manually and do things, but I'm just kind of creating more room for error if I do that. And once again, if I'd be doing what I'd normally be doing, you know, the goal would be potentially have enough happening that you know, you're able to just kind of keep assigning things. So I'm also seeing, like, we are losing money, so I'm thinking because I've got AI helpers in essence in these vehicles, it still treats them that way. The game is doing that. So I'm going to go take a look at my settings and see. I don't remember. I thought I saw a place that I could turn off AI helpers charging me money, but maybe not. Because see, it's showing 3 AI workers currently hired, and I think that's what's occurring, is that, oh, I just saw percent and thought that might be what I needed, but alright, so it's possible that I can't impact that. Alright, so now it's starting to turn in. And once again, they may spread out enough that I'll be okay. So there we go. So it's cutting that side. Obviously the one in the center will go down in the center, which will be number 2. See, but this is where, yeah, this is where it's getting ugly now. Yep. And they're likely not going to play nicely, so I need to very quickly stop this before they get so caught up that they can't be separated, and I may have unfortunately gotten to that point already. Ugh. Alright, good news is it looks like he's gonna get free, but yeah, it got pretty ugly. So, the challenge becomes now, you know, trying to get these back on track. So, so the issue is, A, I can't see the lines, which is definitely an issue. So I think this is about where I need to be. But I need to change this to nearest. It seems about right, 636. Alright, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to line him up kind of right behind him. And again, we're going to put nearest. And then they should all start moving. See, the problem is with 565, that's not really... Well, I guess we'll see what happens. Because number 1 is on the right place. So what you end up doing is trying to basically get the numbers close. So that they travel down the paths appropriately. So the challenge here is, I mean, it does look like it's correct, it's just the numbers are not what I would expect. Because see, he's on 657, and I get he's ahead a ways. You know, that's 651, that's what I'd expect. You know, it's kind of indicating they're close, but that one seems so far off, it's almost like it's not on the right track, but it's behaving correctly, and maybe, yeah, see, because what we want is exactly what it's doing, where it's got room to just maneuver on its own without coming in contact with the others. So that's why I do the 400 separation, because otherwise there just isn't enough space to do all that. And so the hope is that now we're at a point where these guys can operate effective. Oh, come on. Alright, I think he'll get clear. Looks like he's going to hit him because he's going at an angle and they're not going to clear each other, but it worked out. So in theory, alright, I was beginning to get worried he was going to the next row. So I don't think he is. I think he's positioning, and then he may not even back up. He may just circle around. I guess he is a little bit. And then he should line up and go down that row. So really, you know, kind of once it gets through with this little starting point, I think they'll be clearer and they'll be moving along as expected. So really that little neck there is where it needs to get to. And with all of these, you know, with 3 harvesters going, in theory it should get there pretty quickly. But, alright, so he's picking up some more canola. You know, and the question will become on this map, does it make sense to have more? I don't think it makes sense to have less. I for a split second had debated, well, I'll just do 2 harvesters. But I was using 2 harvesters when I was testing Courseplay on a 4X map and felt like, yeah, this feels right. Knowing that this is a 16X map, it was like, well, clearly I'm going to need more. You know, it's just a question of, you know, 4X to 16X is 4 times more. You know, do I go from 2 to 8, which I don't even know that you could do 8. That would be something I'd have to test. And that would be crazy. But, you know, maybe if I ever operate that large 400-acre field in the center of the map, you know, that would be one of those to test out. But that's not happening anytime soon and likely won't happen, so. See, so now he's doing something really strange. I don't know where he's going. And this is sometimes what happens, where you kind of get like a rogue harvester. I mean, he's theoretically at 613, but it's like, where does he think 613 is? So, we'll let him keep doing his thing. Alright, somebody's at 60% because the trucks are moving. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and stop, which is going to stop everybody. And in theory, I then need to get him to go up this side. Because what he should have done is turn here, I think, and go up this way. Yeah, because I think he goes up this way and then goes down. So, let's see. If I line him up, hopefully. Alright, 617. Truck. Alright. And the problem with the trucks, realistically now, is that the harvesters are turning around so frequently because they're short runs that by the time the truck gets in position and tries to get under the pipe to go along with it, they hit the trigger that shows they're going to be turning around, and then the truck backs off. So see, now he's finally like lining up. He'll likely slow down a bit. He actually didn't slow down a bit, so he may empty a bit here, but he's literally just going to get, see, just a tiny bit, and then they're either going to collide, because he's not going to get out of the way in time for the harvester to do whatever maneuver the harvester wants to do. But no, there you go, see, and then the truck backs up, because correctly, that's how the logic works to get them operating. So I'm going to let this go a bit. I'm going to stop chatting for a moment. I actually have to quickly check something, but I'm going to kind of curious to let this keep running. So I'll leave it this way so you can see. I'll be back in a little bit. Alright, so we're back. Doesn't look like anything exploded. That's a good sign. You know, but now we're kind of at the point in the field where I think things should be in a better position to operate as one would expect. You know, and kind of what the hope of automation is. So, yeah, this is only at 39% on this harvester. So that probably means that the harvester that truck came to work with never actually got close to empty at some point. So that might have been the one that ended up taking off after we were playing around at that one portion of the field. But, you know, they're spreading out enough here now, which is great, that they're able to stay out of each other's way, it looks like. It's just the matter of once I have 3 trucks moving around and so forth, because the next thing that we're going to be looking for is when the trucks are full to go to get emptied. Because the other problem we've had is that, you know, the auto drive network might not get them into the silo correctly, and then they'll never empty. So then I may need to touch that up. So, sorry for the long delay again. I was just looking at something else, but it looks like, yeah, that truck again is chasing down a combine that is clearly going to turn around. So, this is where it starts to potentially run into some problems, other than, I mean, it shouldn't be too bad, because worst case, the combines will stop because they're 100% full, because they just can't get caught. But, you know, I think because of the way that field kind of ripples over there, it was thinking it was getting stuck at the edge, and therefore the truck stopped to not kind of leave the field, because it, you know, or the combine was repositioning. And then now the challenge will be that it knows, like, that the pipe is over fruit, and so it won't go in and empty it. And so this is, you know, kind of the tap dance that happens at this point. And now that this one's at 50%, I'm assuming the other harvester is also going to be getting close, and like I said, then we're going to have 3 trucks likely moving around for a little while. So we'll see how this all works. So there, he's moving again, and I don't see the pipe opening on the one behind, so maybe he will just follow that other combine. I'm just hoping they don't run into each other there. And yes, at this point it looks like he's avoiding fruit, which he should be doing. So I usually will always test on a map, you know, and start a map when I'm automating it with crop destruction turned off so that I can just see how things behave. It's usually a challenge with headlands to to not run through the crop. So a lot of times you're either going to take that hit if you're playing that way and it's actually doing that, or you know, you'll have to make other choices. There we go. Now we've got a second truck moving. So the question is, he's cooking along there pretty well. I hope he... Alright. So he's coming in, I assume, for the second harvester. The other one's going to work on that one, and he's just following it. And again, now he's gotten to that turnaround point, so this is kind of the game that keeps getting played. And we're at 64%, so we're calling this... Oh, okay, he was coming for us. And now, again, we got to the end, and he's like, well, now I need to wait. And then by the time I get going enough and he starts moving again, we'll be halfway down, and he won't catch us before we get to the end. So what typically starts happening is you've just got vehicles running all over the field, and until someone gets to 100%, you're kind of waiting. So we'll see. Okay, I heard him start up. So it's possible he'll get in line and do things before we get to the end. That would be the hope. But let's see. You know, it's just still not a very long run. I mean, this truck is empty. So, alright, well, that actually worked well. Those trucks are again trying to get out of each other's way, which is unfortunate because I then may have a problem as they try to get sorted there. It looks like, I think we'll empty before we get to the end of the row. Yeah, as long as that front truck does something before the back truck starts moving, you know, we might be okay, but once again, depending on which combine he's being called to, he's either doesn't have enough space to do anything. Alright, so we are empty. And so you can see now the logic is it will follow along till the end of the row and keep us empty, which is exactly the behavior we want, which is the benefit of having them called early. And then, you know, we're able to keep things moving along. But the nice thing is I haven't touched a control since we basically untangled those combines, you know, way back when. And so at this point, you know, this is operating exactly as I wanted. So this is what was missing when I first attempted this map, because as you can see, you know, this is to me a reasonable level of processing of this field. You know, things are moving around. We're able to... Are they hitting each other? I think they are, darn it. Oh boy. Before they tip each other over or whatever. Alright, I need to go to this one. Alright, so he backed off because basically he was you know, unable to continue appropriately. So this is the problem. See, now it's doing 365 and that's not what I want to be. I want to be further along, and so we've changed the order here, which is okay, and that may work out. But again, we've got a lot of dancing, so, you know, famous last words. I said, oh, everything's going great, and then suddenly it's not. So yeah, I think that I'm wondering if that harvester's actually 100% full is the problem. I'm not sure if he's emptying and we just can't see the animation. Alright, and it looks like that other truck may be going to empty. So if that's the case, at some point I'm going to want to check that out. So yes, he is doing that. What is happening with these others? Okay, he is emptying. So that makes me feel better, because I was like, something's going on and he's not moving. Alright, so at this point, as long as the combines all start moving, we should be good, and then I can go and work with that truck. Yeah, he's still on. It's just the question of, is he... Alright, he's putting his pipe away, so I have some hope. I was beginning to get worried. Okay, now I've kind of lost hope. You know, because the challenge I think we have is he's not moving because he's kind of out of sequence here. Alright, so I'm going to need to get that sorted out. So I'm going to stop these, because basically I think I'm going to have to... Okay, so the good news is this worked. So that's what I was worried about, is that it may have come in the wrong way. But he just emptied, so that's awesome. Alright, so at least that part's done. Now let's play this game. Alright, so he's okay, but he has to be brought back to play nice. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to line these guys up like far apart. And I'm going to say last waypoint, because I think what that should then do is the last place I started them from is where they should operate from. And, you know, because there are some other options that FS19 had, such as closest waypoint, and things that are gone now. And I'm sure the logic is, well, I don't need those. You know, because at this point, yeah, I think, like, he's waiting. They may be in each other's way to empty. Yeah, because I think he's in an auto drive position. So this ended up, timing-wise, he came down and drove back, but then they basically got in each other's way here because of, well, for the obvious reason, because they got in each other's way. Alright, so I start him. Alright, So that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. And I think that's right. And now they should all go do their little dance. Why is the first one not moving? Why is the first one not moving? So yeah, this is where sometimes, unfortunately, things don't work as we'd like. So the trucks are positioning. Alright. So nearest waypoint. Nearest waypoint. Alright. And he's continuing. Now if I could just get the other one to move, that would be terrific. So yeah, this is the game where if they just don't behave, that you kind of have this challenge of trying to figure out how do you now get them to move. And you know, some of this may be because he's not in line. All right. I'm going to try to do this and get this guy ahead of this one and see if then they'll operate. I don't need you emptying into him like you did before. Okay. Which is what this is what I was trying to do, so you can see, you know, kind of the challenge of getting it all to work. The problem now, of course, is they're all now very close together again. And so as they start turning at the end of the field, we may just recreate the collision problem, because this harvester is going to want to make a tight turn because it's literally coming up in the parallel row. But because, you know, this is the first one on the left, like this is the leader, and so when the leader got behind, it just kind of messed up the logic. I mean, on the one hand, the good news is I was able to get it running again, that it wasn't a total catastrophe, and that I couldn't function appropriately, which is obviously the biggest concern, is that you're working some really large field, you think you've got Courseplay working, and then suddenly you don't. And so this is also, frankly, though, the reason I don't have a lot of comfort in, you know, running, if I could, 8 combines, you know, and 8 trucks. I mean, it's just so many things moving around trying to avoid collisions with each other, that it just seems to be begging for a problem. Alright, so that worked better than I thought. But now, as we've got a little bit more of a complicated turning maneuver, let's see what happens. Because at this point, you know, hopefully they're going to start to separate out a little bit again. And I was feeling good about this field getting done for what I wanted to have happen, but now I'm not entirely sure. Because I'll definitely, you know, be breaking the day into more than one episode. I mean, this is enough in and of itself to show what is happening. So, you know, and in the future, I may or may not, well, you know, we'll see what we do in future episodes, but, you know, this will certainly be something, now that I know I can do this, and I can actually have Courseplay involved with multiple tools, which was really the, kind of the stake in the, or the dagger in the heart of this series before, was I had Courseplay, but it didn't have multi-tool capability at that point, and harvesting this field with one harvester and one truck, as you saw, took a really, really long time. As this is, you know, it's probably still a couple hours, but that's at least reasonable from a gameplay standpoint when you're like, oh, I've got to harvest this field, and that's what I'm going to do in this session. You know, that makes sense. But this is running pretty well, and we may actually only have 1 or 2 more passes, so this may not be too bad. Because the good news is, you know, the trucks seem to have gone and deposited things in the silo, so let's just take a quick look at what we've got. So we've got 118,000 liters. So I think the third truck still hasn't emptied, because that's basically 2 trucks worth. They're like 60,000 or 59,000 in capacity. And yeah, the reason I have the cotton harvesters is I do have a field with cotton on it. Otherwise I wouldn't have purchased those already. And that should be a lot easier, and you know, that may be one I'll attack with more harvesters, but I'm not sure. So I think it's waiting, yeah, because of them turning around, so they all kind of wait for each other, which is great, because in theory that should help them maintain spacing, but obviously, as we've seen, It's not foolproof, but all in all, it does a pretty good job, because we're certainly doing pretty well, and we've chewed up this field pretty quickly. So I'm going to hop out here. Yeah, so I mean, that's the thing. This is only a 52-acre field. This isn't that large. So I'm going to get back in the machine so you can hear me talk. But yeah, it's a 53-acre field, so this isn't that large. You know, 43 will be the bigger test, because I think that one is approaching 100 acres, if I recall correctly. Let's just go take a look. Yeah, to get the area to pop up, you sometimes need to go between the fields. Yeah, it's 111, so it's like double the size. And then once again, when we work on some of these others, 161, and I'm assuming this is my biggest one, you know, where we're approaching 200, and fortunately I believe this is my potato field. So whoever had that idea, so I'll have to see how we do that. That may be one of those, although again, I think leasing equipment. Oh, you know what? I think we're paying for... Although, no, that wouldn't make sense. Like, I think we're paying for auto drive on the people here. There we go. Driver's wages. So if I do that... So maybe it's not the combine operators, it's these guys. Oh, and at this point, I guess it just works across the board. Okay. Well, that's good. Alright, so he's going to come by. This will work well, because he'll start emptying him. You know, and this is exactly then what we want to have happen, is that combines never stop moving, trucks never stop moving, and so on fields that are a little less challenging in shape, you know, that'll work. Now we do have this same issue. Now it's finally moving again, where we're down to 3 miles an hour for some reason that we were having before, but maybe there was a little bit of a terrain issue there for some reason or something. So, you know, that little spit that sticks out that we can see, you know, up here in 43 is going to be the challenge with 3 harvesters, because if they're not spread out enough, and so I think I'm going to have to honestly position them apart when I start the field. Like they're going to just get in each other's way there, and we're going to have to manually do it. But once again, that, you know, that's the reality of any kind of automation. I mean, heck, even, you know, Teslas or other things that are super smart, supposedly, you know, the human's still supposed to pay attention behind the wheel, so forth. So, all right. So I think we've got, well, looks like more than one pass, but these turns then become pretty quick. But yeah, I mean, this next run between these two coming up, and then once they come back down, we're really, really close to being done. I mean, we're less than 100 waypoints away from the end here. So yeah, so now we're lining up on the field, so you can kind of see, you know, we're going to have that short corner left, and that'll be it. And certainly at this point, obviously this harvester's fully empty. There's no opportunity for it to get anywhere near full. As long as that truck doesn't get in the way. Alright, thank goodness. Not quite sure what he's doing or why he's doing it, because he's certainly not full. So he's just kind of in the wrong place for certain. I just don't know what he's doing. I just know he needs to get out of the way. I guess he's following this guy because... Alright, I think at least he's out of the way now, so that's good. And then this will turn around, and then yeah, we'll have that little piece, and then we'll be done. But yeah, now we're down to, I guess it's a little more than 50 waypoints, because I saw 52 and was like, but no, it's 12, so we were at like 60, but well, there we go. Now we are at 50. And we're ticking off a few more, and then we'll just turn around and do what we need. So again, we're gonna probably slow things down a bit. Well, maybe not. Maybe he's just gonna turn and head and harvest. Oh boy. Now that truck is in the way. Please, 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 please. Ugh. Alright. Could have been worse, but yeah, now we're, you know, having the same problem we did on the other end. We've got things moving around, and they're maneuvering in a much tighter space than they were, and so now everybody's getting in each other's way. So now it's the same thing. We're going to have this truck zip by. He's going to be in the way of that harvester. I need to get this truck. Oh, good. Oh, good. That's exactly what we wanted. Alright, well, I'm just trying to let him, at this point, shove things out of the way. He may actually free himself up, which is scary, but... And then we'll worry about him later. Almost. Come on. You can do it. At this point, I'm just determined you're going to do it. He shut himself off, finally. Sad. Alright. Alright. There we go. What a mess. Alright, so I'm gonna go to last waypoint, start him up again. And in theory, he should know where he's going. Why? Now line yourself up. There we go. Alright. Now it's, yes. Alright. So other than we need to tip that truck up eventually, but... you know, it wouldn't have been fun if we didn't have somebody tip a truck over, right? Goodness gracious. Oh, come on. You guys are great. You guys are driving me nuts. Oh my god. Okay, the good news is the truck's gonna maybe free itself up, thank god. What a dork. so unhappy with the end of this. It was just glorious in the center, but I guess it just goes to show, you know, you may not be able to finish everything. So I'm assuming he's gonna cut a little bit, yeah. And then obviously he'll come in and cut the last bit, and we'll see how everything goes. Now that truck just needs to stay put while he goes by here. And then yes, it looks like basically everything's in this harvester. Are they gonna like run into each other again? They are. I don't understand. So they're really bad at finishing. I was going to say, a no truck is truly being called, but once he's done, we'll shut him off because we'll be harvested. So it'll all be terrific. And the nice thing is, you know, it wasn't too bad in what was happening. So let me back up here. Alright. So he's done. And I think once he gets emptied, then he'll basically shut himself off. There you go. The question is, will he leave to go to an unload point? I don't think he will. Because that's somewhat what we need now. Not quite sure why he unfolded himself, but he did. I'll get out of the way now. And let me fix that. There we go. Now we'll be folded up. And I'll start taking these over to the next field. And I guess just because we can, we'll just harvest this corner up. Because, hey, we want to get all of our crop if we can. So there we go. Alright. And then once again, he'll empty out or get close. And yeah, I'm going to take a shot and basically say... that these are going to be lined up here because I have enough room, and then the hope is by the time they get to that end, they'll have sorted themselves out enough that I won't have to worry about it. But that'll probably be the best laid plans that won't work at all the way I want. Yeah, see, so for whatever reason, they're like unfolding. Let me go turn this other truck right side up, because I'm going to need a harvester to undo what a harvester did. And this actually probably is the same harvester that killed this truck. So let me go fix this. Come on. There we go. Lovely FS22 physics. But, anyway. Alright, so that other truck is going to empty. Because he's obviously at 85%. And so, yeah, I'll go ahead and get these harvesters lined up. now, and then we can continue in the next episode with these guys there. So if you've hung around, thank you. Definitely appreciate sticking with me through thick and thin on this as we again come back to this place that people have said they really enjoyed. It's definitely one of my most popular series before. Let's see, he's the closest truck I've got, so I'm going to go empty into him here, just so I'm empty. I'm half tempted to not empty, but at this point I'm here. But yeah, this was one of the most popular videos, was the start of this series before. I don't know if it's going to be as interesting to folks again, but I'm hopeful. And now at least I feel like this is a series that I could continue with, because I can get this going. And once again, on some of the other fields, again, I don't know the numbers that well, so that truck's coming back from the silo, which is a good sign, because that means he emptied out. Is that I'll be able to, on the larger fields in the upper corners, we should be able to have much cleaner automation. So I'll get everything collected up. No, maybe not. I'll just leave it. We'll pick up where we're at now. I'll get the harvesters moving since they're full. We're going to have to set up the Courseplay on this field, and then, we'll get the unload point set up at some point, and we'll go from there. So I'll see you next time.